Boom. All right, what's going on, you guys? It's Royce Jacob. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Biotech Boom, a series where we talk about biotechs. The sector did close out the week on a very strong note, so I'm excited to cover these with you guys. As always, we'll go over each topic that we're going to be discussing, then we'll dive into each one individually. In front of us, of course, we will be looking at all of these charts today on TradingView in this order: Moderna, Sorrento, Inovio, Novavax, Biotech, and VXRT. Exciting things here. Again, green across the board today. You'll love to see it, so we'll cover that. In terms of news, Fauci tells Congress the U.S. could have enough coronavirus vaccine doses for every American by April. Very bold claim. We'll go over this. Of course, this is just bullish for the sector as a whole. Moving on, another CNBC article, but not so much here, aside from a video that I want you guys to watch. Why so many people are hopeful about an mRNA coronavirus vaccine, okay? So we'll go into this. I'll let you guys know why you should watch that video. And then move on, closing it out with some Sorrento news. This is all the news we have today. I will just touch on primarily Moderna. This article does feature Moderna and Pfizer. The first article, obviously, again, bullish for the entire sector as a whole. And then closing it out with some why investors should take a serious bullish look on Sorrento, okay? So I like this article as well. Again, we will cover these as we go over the charts. And before we get into it, though, I will ask you guys to, of course, please give the video a like if you do go on to gain value from it, or if you're invested in any of the stocks we're talking about today. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, and of course check out my complete portfolio and daily newsletter, first link in the description, if you want to know my exact trades, my exact positions in this sector, as well as every other sector, not just the biotechs. And if you want updates from me on a daily basis on this sector, don't want to have to wait for the Biotech Boom videos, because in the daily newsletter I do send out my thoughts surrounding the sector, surrounding some of my plays within the sector every trading day during market hours. So check that out if you're interested. I appreciate it if you do. If not, no worries. That said, let's get into this. Okay, so Moderna, we'll just kick it off with this because this is very exciting looking. So Moderna has been printing a bull flag over the past week. Okay, so you see this parabolic move up. Moderna did see a nice bounce up starting on the 9th of September. Did correct a little bit, creating this descending triangle. Classic bull flag right here. And just today, it did break out of this bull flag, at least in my eyes. So with this bull flag, you could actually move it up like that, and it makes more sense the tighter you make this flag. So again, you get the flagpole right here, you get this descending triangle, which makes that flag itself. And it did break out of this today. Again, the whole sector, the sector overall, as well as the rest of the markets, did well today. So obviously that did catalyze the move up. But this is very good from a technical pattern, because it did successfully break out of this downtrend. It is now in an uptrend. Again, it did break out of this macro downtrend mid-September, on the 14th of September, which initially made me extremely bullish and initially convinced that we'd ultimately come up to retest this area that was once a very strong line of support as a new line of resistance around the 80. If we go test it over the coming days, this would bring us, or no, sorry, this is over the next week or so, this would bring us up to the 85, almost $90 level, okay? So I do ultimately think, I'm convinced of this myself, trust me, you guys, my money is always on this, that we will reach close to the $90 mark, at least the $85 mark. But again, I think it would be 90, because I do think it's going to retest this line that was once a very strong line of support over the course of this rally up, and use this as a line of resistance. Obviously, again, you guys, the fundamental factors, the fundamental drivers will have an impact on this. If they come out tomorrow with some news that their vaccine absolutely tanked, then that would tank the stock as well. If they come out with some good news, almost in regard to anything, just because the technicals look so strong right now, I think that we could easily see Moderna come up to this area around here. And the beautiful thing about this market, once again, although almost every sector across the board, tech included, tech leading the rally, closing out this week, although everything did pretty well today, I do think that we could see this sector act as somewhat of a hedge to the equity markets again. And again, that hasn't happened. Like when we saw this pullback just last week, just at the beginning of this past week, these things, this sector, these biotechs saw some carnage as well. So they don't always act as a hedge, but it is very promising if they do end up acting as a hedge. So that's Moderna. Let's move on to this first article, and then we'll keep going down the line. All right. So once again, Fauci tells Congress the U.S. could have enough coronavirus vaccine doses for every American by April. Key points: Dr. Anthony Fauci also said there's growing optimism that scientists will find one or more safe and effective vaccines by the end of the year or early 2021. Fauci touted vaccines by Moderna, Pfizer, and AstraZeneca, and Johnson & Johnson. J&J announced earlier in the day that it has begun phase 3 testing of its vaccine. So huge for J&J. That's another addition to phase 3 trials. Obviously, one step closer to finding an efficacious vaccine. Although Moderna is my pick, many of you guys who have watched me before know that already. Moderna is my horse in this race. I'm rooting for everyone. I want a vaccine to be out there. I want things to this thing to move forward. I want progress amongst humanity overall. So obviously I'm happy about that. It is more competition, but again, this is good for the sector as a whole. It grows its optimism. It's good for not only the sector, but for the markets. The markets want optimism. People want certainty, and a vaccine will bring certainty, at least in terms of economics, okay? So that's huge. It's good that Johnson & Johnson added the race. But again, Moderna is my horse in this race. That said, let's move straight onto this article, and then we'll touch on some of the others, okay? So why so many people are hopeful about an mRNA coronavirus vaccine? As the whole world is watching, including investors and public health specialists, as more than 30 biotechs and pharmaceutical companies race to develop a safe COVID-19 vaccine. But there's a big question lingering over the process. How do we balance safety with speed? The process is moving quickly, with several vaccine candidates entering late-stage trials in a matter of months. Pfizer and biotech Moderna are two of the companies the White House has chosen to fast-track through the FDA's regulatory process. Both companies are attempting to use messenger RNA, or mRNA, to produce their vaccines, a technology that has never been received regulatory approval. Okay, so keep in mind, you guys, mRNA, the technology that Moderna uses has never had a successful vaccine. So you might say that's a very rightfully so. It's justifiable to think that is a sketchy bet if there's never been an mRNA based vaccine approved by the FDA, which it is sketch. But Moderna, again, they have multiple vaccines down their pipeline. They're not just working on the coronavirus. That's something I always say is important to remember about many of the biotech stocks we talk about in the sector. But this coronavirus vaccine is showing so much promise over the entire process. Because again, we've been following this for months now. This vaccine specifically has been showing so much promise. That's why they're one of the few. That's why they're one of the now once three, just recently 4 companies in phase 3 trials, and they were actually the first company of all of them in phase 3s. Okay, so that wouldn't happen if this formula they're working on, if this method they're using wasn't effective. Okay, so if you guys are invested in Moderna or Pfizer because they are both working on an mRNA based vaccine, please watch this video. It's not completely necessary, you guys, but it's just good practice. Okay, if you're going to invest in a stock, you want to understand it from a fundamental perspective, understand why you're investing in it. Okay, obviously the returns are there. If you just play technicals, that's cool too, but I just feel once again that it's good practice. That's kind of the best, I feel like that's the best words I could use to describe why I want you to watch this. It's just good practice. All right, so you guys check this out if you want to. Once again, it is a CNBC article titled "Why So Many People Are Hopeful About an mRNA Coronavirus Vaccine." All right, so moving on to Sorrento. We'll take a look at Sorrento. It's if I already do this, but I don't want to read 3 articles in a row for you guys. Sorrento is looking pretty all right. I mean, this could be worrisome right here. What I'm seeing immediately right off the bat is a head and shoulders. So from a technical perspective, you see kind of a head and shoulders playing out. You see left shoulder, head, right shoulder. We might see it come up and retest this extreme right shoulder, similar to how you see this left shoulder pop up, then it capitulates, goes up for the head, and then we might see a similar thing play out here. But Sorrento has been seeing a lot of positive news lately, which, we'll just get into this right now, okay? So why Sorrento should take a serious bullish look on Sorrento. This is pretty, I'll just read you guys this. We're not going to go through too much here, but renewed interest in emerging biotech companies lifted Sorrento Therapeutics recently. Excessive bearish volumes against the stock could squeeze them out further. If Sorrento continues to post positive news in its drug and testing developments on the novel coronavirus, then SRNE stock may keep rising. At a 34.3% short float, the bearish bet on Sorrento is getting too crowded. So this is very important, you guys, and this is a big reason that initially the stock market as a whole. So from the March lows, I'm going to try to kind of rationalize this a little bit. So from the March lows, so many people, like the stock crashed in March, when everything crashed in March, right? So many people were screaming the sky is falling, and that's because it kind of was. And the economy sucked, everything was going to get worse, and a lot of people thought the situation was going to get significantly worse than it already was, right? Which it kind of ended up doing. But a big reason that we saw a rally up, that we're still on this rally from those March lows, is because so many people shorted the market. Hedge funds, huge, like whales, market whales, shorted the market because they thought it was going to go lower. And when it went just a little higher, because there were so many shorts, all of those got squeezed and you saw crazy buying volume. So when you get short squeezed out, you have to buy stock to cover your position, okay? And when that happens, you put in a whole bunch of buy orders. When you put in a whole bunch of buy orders, the markets go up, and people think, oh man, maybe the market's going up. And that's a big reason that, again, after the March lows, we see in this rally that we're still on, is because so many people initially got short squeezed out. And that's why it's very good. That's a big thing for Tesla too, because Tesla was one of the most shorted stocks until a lot of the shorts got squeezed out, and then they just lost all hope. And that's what shot Tesla to the moon as well. So it's very powerful, especially when you have good fundamentals, for a lot of shorts to be on your stock. Again, although it does show negative sentiment, from a lot of traders' perspectives, obviously, because that many people are shorting the stock. It's good because if they get squeezed out, if we get some great news and the stock moves up enough to squeeze all these shorts out, then you're going to see this thing skyrocket. And again, Sorrento is a pretty small company, so it doesn't take much to send this thing mooning, and we've seen it before. So why couldn't it happen again? The company posted a pair of news releases that caught investor attention. On September 17th, the company received the U.S. FDA approved its phase 1 clinical trial of STI 1499. COVIGUARD is neutralizing antibody for treating hospitalized COVID-19 patients. On September 14th, Sorrento announced an exclusive licensing agreement with the Mayo Clinic. It will supply stable antibody drug nanoparticle aluminum-bound immune complexes targeting many types of human diseases. So again, we did see over just the past week or two, like, great news for Sorrento. So they have that momentum. They have the fundamental momentum right now. And again, they do, although it looks a little sketchy right now, little sketchy with this potential head and shoulders playing out on the 4 hour. It's going to look similar on the 1 hour, whatever time frame you look at. I just think the reason I got into Sorrento, and many of you guys know this, like way back when, before all this happened, very early on Sorrento. I'm very proud of that. But the reason I've always been bullish on Sorrento is because I'm very fundamentally bullish on it. They're doing great things. They're taking that multi-pronged approach to COVID. They're working on a treatment. And again, although they did get beat to the test kit by Yale, I believe Yale beat them they had the first mover advantage on the test kits. That's not their bread and butter. Sorrento's bread and butter is their treatment. And they're working on some cancer stuff right now as well. That was one of the pieces of news. That was very good. And like I said with Moderna, like so many of these other companies, they're not only working on COVID, they're working on many other things. And Sorrento's cancer arm is looking very promising right now, on top of their bread and butter in regard to COVID, which once again is their is the treatment for COVID. It's not a vaccine, it's not a test kit, it's their treatment. And that's what I'm personally still banking on. If they do get FDA emergency use approval for that treatment, then that's game over. That's game over in the best of ways for Sorrento. So from a technical perspective, I will just say that Sorrento is looking like it could play out a potential head and shoulders pattern here, which does worry me. But I mean, just on the medium term time frame, I'm still definitely bullish on Sorrento in the sense that I do think it will once again retest the $14 mark. Again, you guys, there's a lot of fundamentals that play in here. We do need to, if we get another round of stimulus, I'm extremely confident that Moderna, Sorrento, Inovio, and NVAX will probably see another rally in the sector. We'll see the second wave. We'll see that round two. And again, they are, as time goes on, the hype fades and the fundamentals get stronger, okay? So sometimes before, you guys, like, news was coming out, the hype was surpassing the news, and the volume was surpassing the news. These stocks were getting a little ahead of themselves. They're getting overinflated. That's why you see this bubble that unfortunately was Sorrento. It got way too exciting, way too fast. The volume, once again, just it overpassed the news. So now that it's going to, like, vice versa, now that the fundamentals are kind of matching up with the stocks and these companies are fundamentally getting way closer to an effective treatment, to an effective vaccine, and the stocks have pulled back from all-time highs, it makes me that much more bullish on the stocks right now than before. Again, it's easy to cloud your judgment when things are going to the moon, but right now I'm definitely more bullish on these stocks than I was a couple months ago, okay? Just like around this time, I'm a lot more bullish now than I was back here, and I'll say that much. Okay, so that's Sorrento. Inovio, moving on here, did see a nice bounce as well. So Inovio really took off after it broke out of this downtrend. Again, you can see here, took off from about $10, almost 2x, which is crazy. So it went up like 80% to $18. We have been going sideways using this area where it gapped down. So you see this gap down, it's using this gap as a significant area of resistance, where it gapped down right here at the $18 level. So it's been floating around there for a while. It is bouncing around the 21 EMA right now. I don't know like with Inovio, it's kind of hard to tell just because I feel like it will take good news to catalyze and move up unless the rest of the sector just does well. We've seen it in the past. We know that these guys are all guilty by association in certain ways. This will change. Once again, I do believe, and we haven't seen it yet, but you have to consider what's going to happen if a company like Moderna, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson announces news of a completely efficacious vaccine. What will happen to these other stocks? I don't know. But again, if we do see momentum in the bigger players like Moderna, like Pfizer, like J&J, then it only makes sense that these more speculative plays will do well as well, because we've seen it before. So again, why? History doesn't repeat itself, but it's rhymes. So in that sense, it just makes sense to me that we would see this sector move in unison together. And you can see Inovio and Novavax are doing extremely well. So Inovio, it's hard to tell. If we break above this area where, again, we just danced on this. This is a significant ceiling, significant line of resistance around the $18.50 mark. If we can hit like $20, I'll just say just conservatively $20. I'm pretty bullish on Inovio, and I do think that we could resume an uptrend. So we'll have to see if that happens. Again, that would $20 would bring it to this area right here, and then we can maybe see an uptrend start to form and create a channel. So again, we'll just follow this as it goes. Novavax up double digits today as well. Novavax technically is still in a downtrend. Okay, so again, it's started this downtrend in mid-August, set another pivot, or set like another basis point mid-September, and it still hasn't. It did successfully use this, so this is now a successful lowering line of resistance right here. And Novavax, pretty much to just sum it up quickly on Novavax, we'll have to break above this level to confirm to me that we're once again in an uptrend. If it does break below this, so pretty much it just needs to close one more. If it's green on Monday, then I think we're once again in an uptrend for Novavax. And yeah, that's a good sign. My short-term ties, if we do break above that, my price target would honestly be probably this 150 area. So we're currently at 113, probably maybe not 140, 150. You can see like another 25% move up from there. But we just spent so much time around this 150 area, and again, huge psychological even, that it would make sense if we see another rally in Novavax to at least retest that area and use that as a line of resistance, okay? So Novavax, two more, Biotech, VXRT. Biotech looks a lot less exciting than many of the other players. So Biotech, remember, they are partnered with Pfizer, so it's kind of similar, 2 and 2. Again, they did break out. They've just been going sideways since they broke out of this downtrend. But up 6% today. That looks pretty good. I don't really. I don't have much exciting to say about Biotech aside from the fact that they're significantly below their all-time highs. So I think Biotech could be a solid, just kind of speculative play right now. They're at a $14 billion market cap, still like half the size of Moderna. So they still have a significant amount of room for growth. And it will be interesting to see. Biotech actually looks pretty promising to me. So I will keep an eye on this. I'm not playing this right now myself personally, but I will keep an eye on it. And again, I'll just keep you guys posted with the next Biotech Boom. Okay, so moving on, last but not least, VXRT. So VXRT, this one probably the most this and Inovio definitely the most volatile, definitely the most dangerous in my eyes. So VXRT is to me personally, if I was to not hold any of these right now, it'd probably be VXRT, just because they're the most. I'm not saying that they can't win, like we covered in and I think the last episode it was, where we talked about how the first mover advantage doesn't necessarily mean that that you get a last mover complete disadvantage, right? So first mover advantage is obviously crucial in the race to a vaccine, very crucial, but it doesn't mean that the second, third, fourth place won't benefit from stumbling upon or from developing an efficacious vaccine as well, right? So that's kind of where Inovio, Novavax, VXRT fall into play. Although they are making progress, VXRT has that oral vaccine, which is a cool spin on the vaccine. If that works, that's crazy. So VXRT does have that going for it. They're also a very small company. What's their market cap? So 808, shout out to the area code, $808 million market cap, significantly smaller than many of these other plays, even Inovio and Novavax. So as far as like upside, from a valuation perspective goes, it takes a lot less capital to send this thing flying either up or down. So it is more, that's why we see more volatility, and it makes perfect sense. Smaller company, less capital, moves the stock up and down. So if VXRT release some banging news, say that oral vaccine does work, I think we could definitely easily break beyond all-time highs, which was what, 16, almost 17 bucks was that all-time high back in mid-July. That'd be I mean, VXR did correct so significantly. So that was it went from 17 down to like $5. So super significant correction there. Again, you guys, this was just the kind of biotech bubble. So hopefully we are in the second wave again. Like I said, I can't remember, last week, the week before that, I do hope that this bounce is not just kind of a relief rally, not just a dead cat bounce from these significant corrections, but that we do resume this uptrend. And again, you guys, the closer we get to an efficacious vaccine, the more I get worried about these smaller players. Again, like I just said, it doesn't mean that they're out of the race, but short term at least, once Moderna, Pfizer, J&J, whoever establishes a successful vaccine, I think that will be very short-term detrimental for all of the players within the sector, aside from maybe Sorrento. Sorrento guilty by association in a sense, but hopefully the majority of people who are involved with Sorrento at this point understand that they're not working on a vaccine, and hopefully that's the case. Again, Sorrento is such a hype stock that unfortunately there's so much weak hands, I feel like, still involved with the stock. So hopefully the sector just continues to educate itself more. This goes for every sector across the board, that investors, traders, Robinhood traders, retail investors continue to educate themselves more. Shout out to you guys for always educating yourself. And I'm doing my best to do the same as well. Okay, so we'll call it there, you guys. As always, leave a comment down below. Please let me know what you think about the sector, what you think is going to happen next week. I'm personally very bullish, especially if we do get a stimulus. So please let me know. Always love learning from you guys. Always love talking shop with you guys down below. So catch you downstairs. And until next time, guys, always remember, take action, make waves. Peace.